host, Scary Pops, and everybody loves a good scary story. Well, I got a few to tell. Let's get started. If these walls could talk, a couple had bought a rundown house and they were converting the kitchen into the main bedroom. They had to take down the old wallpaper because the previous owner had papered every wall and ceiling in the house. And it was going to be a lot of work to remove, but it feels really good to get rid of it. It's kind of like that feeling of getting a long peel, like when your skin peels after a bad sunburn and you just peel it off. Well, they did that like it was a game, and they were on a hunt to rip the longest piece possible. When they were ripping, they noticed that a person's name and date was under a corner section of the paper in every room. So they decided to investigate and Google those names. But what they discovered, they were just in absolute shock. The names all belonged to missing people, and the dates matched the day of their disappearance. So they notified the police, and they sent a crime scene team over, and they had overheard one of the police talk, and they said, "Yeah, it's human." Wait, what? Human? Ma'am, where is all the material you removed? Because this isn't wallpaper. The creepy campground. It was a few years ago. 2 friends and I were camping. It was fall, and we had a small tent for the 3 of us. After a long day of hiking and hanging out and just enjoying the nature, we decided to get into the tent to get ready for our sleep. It was a silent and still night with fog developing throughout the woods. Then, in the middle of the night, we woke up to what sounded like a muffled voice on a cell phone, as it came from the center of the tent between all of our heads. And we heard somebody keep saying, "Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?" My friend says, are you guys hearing that? Then we all sat up and started shuffling around the tent looking for our phone. But there was no phone in the tent. So we all look at each other and we ask, what did you hear? And everybody's like, it sounded like someone saying, "Hello, can you hear me?" And we all agreed that this is what we heard. But the sound was coming from the other side of the tent, maybe, or in the tent. Well, when we got up that morning, we went out and we found all our cell phones sitting in the car and with no cell reception, as obviously the campground wasn't providing that. So where was that coming from? The prom that never was. Johnny left his friend's house late at night and headed home down the dark country road. All of a sudden it started to rain. It was coming down pretty hard. And as Johnny was driving, he looked and he saw a blurry image of a woman in a long white dress walking down the middle of the road. So he had to stop. He was very confused, not understanding why she would be out there, but he asked if she needed a ride. She didn't say anything. She just got in and sat in the front seat. And since she was shivering, Johnny took off his coat and put it over her shoulders. After a few miles, the girl indicated, without speaking, that she needed to get out at an old house right there on the corner. So Johnny stopped the car and the girl opened the door and he rolled down the window to ask for his coat, but she was gone quick, like she was gone. He left his car and he walked up to the door and an older woman answered, and he explained to her that he forgot to get his jacket from the young woman that he just dropped off at the house. The woman started to cry, and he looked really puzzled and said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Well, my daughter, on this evening 10 years ago, was on her way to prom when she was killed in a car accident. She was buried in the cemetery up the road in the exact spot where Johnny had picked her up." So the next day, Johnny drove to the cemetery to confirm the woman's story, but there on the grave of the young girl lied his jacket, saved by a choking dog. As newlyweds, Sean and Stacy, they loved to spend time together. They both worked long hours and frequently only had a few hours to spend together in the evening. So to make the most of their time, they met for dinner before going home. But one night, the couple returned home to find their beloved dog choking. Sean attempts to remove the obstruction with no success. So they decide to rush their dog to the all-night emergency vet's office. It says he must sedate the dog to remove the obstruction, and the dog must remain overnight. So when they walk in the door of their house, the phone is ringing. And when Cindy answers the phone, the vet on the other end yells, "Get out of the house now!" So they run, they stumble out into the yard. Just then the police arrive. The police draw their guns and rush into the house. The vet pulls up and asks, "Did they get him? Did they get him?" She's like, What do you mean?" And the police drag out a man bleeding from one of his hands. "We found him in your bedroom," says the police. Both Stacy and Sean are confused, and they ask the vet, "How did you know?" And the vet explains, "Your dog was choking on a human finger." So I enjoy telling these stories for you. I really look forward to the series and just finding good stories to tell for you. So please leave me some information in the comments. Are you enjoying this series? What type of stories would you like to hear? And really appreciate the support. And just please leave it a like. And that way we can get more people to discover these Saturday scares, because I do enjoy, doing these. So appreciate each and every one of you taking the time out of your day to listen.